How much money do you actually need to retire in America? Imagine you wake up tomorrow and your paycheck is gone. No more salary. No more bonuses. No more employer health insurance. No more company match going into your 401k. From that day forward, your money has to do the job your paycheck used to do. So here's the question almost every American eventually faces. How much money is actually enough to retire? Is it $500,000? $1 million? $2 million? Or does retirement in America now require several million dollars? The surprising answer is that there is no universal retirement number. And that's not a cop-out. It's because two Americans with exactly the same investment portfolio can need completely different amounts of money. One might own a paid-off house in a relatively inexpensive area. Another might still have a mortgage in a high-cost city. One might receive a large Social Security benefit. Another might retire early and receive nothing for years. One might want a quiet retirement. Another might want international travel, restaurants, golf, and a second home. So instead of asking, what's the magic retirement number? The better question is, how much income will my retirement actually require? And once you know that number, the math becomes much clearer. Start with what retirement actually costs. Let's begin with the spending side. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, average annual expenditures for all U.S. consumer units were $78,535 in 2024. Average income before taxes was $104,207. But that $78,535 figure isn't a retirement budget. It includes households of different ages, family sizes, and income levels. Retirement spending can look very different. Some expenses may disappear. You might no longer commute to work every morning. You may spend less on work clothing. You may no longer contribute to a 401k. But other expenses can become more important. Healthcare is one of the biggest examples. And this is where retirement planning gets uncomfortable. Fidelity's latest retiree healthcare estimate says a 65-year-old individual retiring today could need approximately $172,500 in after-tax savings to cover healthcare expenses throughout retirement. For an average 65-year-old couple, the estimate is approximately $345,000. And that estimate does not include long-term care costs. That doesn't mean every retiree will personally spend exactly $172,500. It is an estimate based on assumptions about healthcare costs. But it demonstrates something important. Healthcare cannot simply be treated as a small line item in a retirement plan. Now let's bring this back to the retirement number. Suppose an American wants to spend $60,000 per year in retirement. That doesn't mean they necessarily need a $1.5 million portfolio. Why? Because retirement income doesn't have to come entirely from investments. There's another major source: Social Security. Social Security changes the math. In 2026, the Social Security Administration estimates that the average monthly benefit for all retired workers is approximately $2,071 after the 2.8% cost of living adjustment. That's about $24,852 per year if received for a full year. For an aged couple where both people receive benefits, the estimated average is approximately $3,208 per month, or roughly $38,496 per year. Now imagine a retiree needs $60,000 a year to maintain their lifestyle. If they receive approximately $24,852 from Social Security, the remaining gap is $60,000 minus $24,852 equals $35,148. That $35,148 has to come from other sources. Maybe a 401k, maybe an IRA, maybe a taxable brokerage account, maybe a pension, maybe rental income, or some combination of all of them. And this is why simply saying, you need $1 million to retire can be misleading. The portfolio doesn't need to replace your entire pre-retirement income. It needs to cover the gap between what your lifestyle costs and what reliable income sources provide. But there's another huge variable. When you claim Social Security, You can generally begin retirement benefits at age 62 if you meet the eligibility requirements, but claiming earlier generally means a lower monthly benefit than waiting until full retirement age. And for people who delay beyond full retirement age, benefits can increase until age 70. For someone reaching full retirement age in 2026, the maximum monthly benefit is $4,152. At age 62, the maximum is $2,969. At age 70, the maximum is $5,181. Those are maximum benefits for people with a specific history of high taxable earnings, not typical benefits. So claiming strategy can materially change the amount your investment portfolio needs to provide. Now we can talk about the $1 million question. Let's say you're 65. You want to spend $60,000 a year. You expect about $24,852 a year from Social Security. Your initial portfolio withdrawal requirement would therefore be around $35,148. Now comes the investment question. How much portfolio would reasonably support that withdrawal? A commonly discussed retirement guideline is the 4% rule. The basic idea is that a retiree withdraws roughly 4% of their initial portfolio in the first year and then adjusts the dollar amount for inflation. But here's something important. 4% is not a guarantee. It is a historical planning guideline, and current research is more conservative. Morningstar's 2026 retirement income research puts its base case starting safe withdrawal rate at approximately 3.9% for a 30-year retirement, assuming a retiree wants inflation-adjusted spending and a high probability of not exhausting the portfolio. So let's use 3.9% simply as an illustration. If you need $35,148 from your investments, $35,148 divided by 0.039 equals approximately $901,000. Suddenly, our hypothetical retiree doesn't necessarily need $1.5 million. They need something closer to $900,000 under these simplified assumptions. But don't stop there. Because this calculation assumes the $35,148 gap remains the right amount to withdraw and ignores several real-world variables, including taxes, portfolio allocation, changes in spending, and the timing of Social Security. And that's where retirement planning gets much more interesting. Your retirement number depends on your lifestyle. Consider two Americans. Both retire at 65. Both receive roughly the same Social Security benefit. But their lifestyles are completely different. Person A wants a modest retirement. Their mortgage is paid off. They live in a relatively affordable area. They cook most meals at home. Their annual spending target is $45,000. Person B wants a completely different lifestyle. They want frequent international travel. They eat at restaurants regularly. They have expensive hobbies. They live in a high-cost metropolitan area. Their target is $100,000 a year. These people aren't facing the same retirement problem. Suppose both receive approximately $24,852 from Social Security. Person A has a gap of roughly $45,000 minus $24,852 equals $20,148. At a hypothetical 3.9% withdrawal rate, that gap corresponds to approximately $517,000. Person B has a gap of $100,000 minus $24,852 equals $75,148. At the same hypothetical rate, that corresponds to approximately $1.93 million. Same country, same retirement age, same Social Security assumption. But the portfolio requirement is dramatically different. That's the real lesson. Your retirement number is driven by your spending gap, not by some universal millionaire threshold. But there's a problem with using one withdrawal rate. Here's where many online retirement calculators oversimplify things. Markets don't produce the same return every year. And once you understand that, retirement planning becomes much less about chasing a magical number, and much more about building a financial machine that can keep paying you after you stop working.